Good morning. Hand today is going to be Pocket Queens. We are at a 5NL game. We have 8 players, and we've got an early position player open raises. We get a call, and it's to me, and I 3-bet. So this player's playing 22-14. We look at his early position stats. He's playing 14% pre-flop raise, 17% raise first in. I think raise range looks something like this, 14%. Maybe he doesn't have those, so that gets us down to 13%. You're going to see it doesn't really matter a whole lot because he's going to fold my 3-bet. This guy calls, unknown forehand, so I just kind of go with, what do I typically see? I think you get called by pocket pairs, you get called by some of these Broadway hands, and that's about it. Until we know more that he's calling with, more Broadway hands, suited connectors, I think we're going to go with a tighter range. My 3-bet looks something like this. Is 3-bet versus early position player. I don't think he's overly tight. I don't necessarily think he's overly loose. So we are just going to be, here's the 3-bet range. We got a 3-bet call. I'd probably just call with these. Although we are in a spot to squeeze. So I think it'd probably be okay to squeeze it here. Not sure if I'd do it a whole lot at 5-0. 5-0 players are there usually to play, and they don't tend to fold as much. So I 3-bet, and then you get a call here, and folds around, and this guy calls. So let's work out this hand. This hand's playing 60%, 40%. I got 20 hands on him. He's just playing a lot of hands at this point. I put a range together like this. This seems crazy, but we've got a called 3-bet out of position with jacks and with queen jack off. Not surprised with the jacks. I would have given him, pocket pairs. Maybe not all of them, but probably would have given him pocket pairs down to maybe 7s, maybe 6s. But then seeing the queen jack off really suggests that this guy's playing a wide range. He's just playing to play. So this is 25%. I think this is probably close, and maybe it's a little too narrow. This guy, the raise first in guy, he folded. So then it comes back to him, and we have to ask ourselves, would he fold any of these hands that he called initially with? Initially, yeah, I'd say yes. If everyone else folded to him, I think he probably is going to fold like the weaker pairs. But since there's already going to be a caller, I think this guy is going to be calling. And also, I mean, you can see he's not super deep. And actually, this is probably a short table here. 100% this is a short table. Because I must have started with 50, had 50 here. So I think, yeah, probably he might have gotten rid of these small pocket pairs, but then middle pairs and definitely these Broadways. I'm going to leave them in. So 3 of us take the flop. Flop comes down queen 6-4, so great, I hit it. We've got 3-way pot. We've got one guy that is definitely loose. The other guy is an unknown. But again, we're just kind of going off of what generally, or how people generally play at this level. So bingo, I figure I'm going to get paid. Pot's 34. At this point, we've got to pay attention to our stack sizes. Stacked pot, so effective stacks 39, about 40, so just over 1, maybe 1 1/3 stacked pot ratio. We're looking to get all in at this point. Question is, how do we do that? We could just shove. That's obviously the sensible thing. However, we're looking to get in, get hands in, and at this point, it's probably better just to kind of go a little bit small. So I bet a 10 here, which I think is reasonable. That leaves us 30. So if someone raises us, they're going to easily raise us 30. We could get all in, no problem. If we get called, now we're dealing with a pot of maybe 60, and then we could fire a half pot bet. If we only get called once, we're doing like a 2/3 pot bet. So it's small enough. It's reasonable enough to get some calls. So let's look at our range. I'm not surprised this guy checks. Not surprised that any person checks to us. Although this guy has a donk flop range, 3 out of 5, and I don't know if we have anything there. So this is actually a decent board to donk. So I kind of think a top pair could easily bet here. Probably not like ace queen, but maybe like a queen 9, queen 10, maybe even queen jack could donk. So we could scale that. I think that could be a reasonable donking range. I think sets or checks. I think maybe even these pocket pair less than the top card could be checks here, or could be a lead at some frequency of the time. So maybe a third. Maybe he would have led with jacks and tens just to see does anyone have a queen or not. I think 7s, 8s, and 9s are probably closer to check calls. All right, so we've got him. This guy, nothing. I don't think he's, unknowns typically don't donk. So then it's on us. What do? We're going to have top pair plus. This is a great spot, I think, personally. We don't really have draws. Our only draws will be ace king. So if we look at value, we've got 62% value, 37%. I think against these players, we're going to be betting. Three-way, we probably don't need to bet as much. Maybe it could be probably a little bit more, less bluff heavy. I do think we will need some bluff, so ace king, it could be reasonable. So I think betting 100% here. If we get raised, we're going to fold our ace kings likely. I think we're going to be behind the queen. And yeah, pot odds are probably suggesting at that point that we shouldn't fold. But I think we're going to be behind, really behind at that point. So I think I do like this bet. I think GTO would probably just say shove. But we bet 10 and we get one caller, so this guy folds, which not surprising when you look at, what could he have? He's going to probably call with top pair. He's going to call with a set. I think he's going to fold with all of these top pairs, or pocket pair below the top pair. So you're looking at calling only 41% of the time, 42%. He's folding 58%. So not a big surprise there. So he folds. This guy calls. I think sets are probably going to raise at this point, typically. And he does 60-40. He could be an aggressive type of player. We've got 20 hands. We're going to give him these middle pairs. Yeah, so a third of the time he was going to raise with those two, so he's got the rest of these hands in his range. Yeah, we already excluded those hands because he would have bet those sets at, say, 50% of the time. We're going to lose about 50% here because I think that could be a check raise all in. Could also be a donk too, possibly. But I think the pairs are probably just going to call. Any pair is going to call, I believe. Yeah, maybe he has an open ender. Maybe he has a gut shot. But yeah, 38.5%. He's got something. And now we've set up, basically a 2/3 pot bet. Two of spades comes out. I'm willing to get it in. He checks. I bet all in. So yeah, once he checks, I'm done with the ace king. But I think everything else we're getting all in. I don't think it's worthwhile. I think we could include ace king, ace queen, spades, or ace king spades as our bluff. I guess that is there as part of our flush draw. I wouldn't be against just checking because I do think he's probably just going to call. I think at this point it's going to be hard for anyone to fold. So we're just going to attack with our value hands, a top pair plus, and we're going to expect to win, believe it or not. So once we bet, yeah, of course he could have a set. He could have all these top pair hands. I think he's probably calling with the pair. He's obviously going to call with flush draw, open ender. With how loose he is, I might give him a gut shot as well. And we could see how it changes. But right now we've got, let's see here, 67 to 33. If we give him these pocket pair less than the top card, which is reasonable. I'm not sure if he's going to call with a middle pair anymore. I guess we could scale it down and say 50% chance that he would have called with those. Same thing with like a fives. I'd like to think he's getting rid of these other weaker pairs. So yeah, you're at 78-21. Just as we keep adding weaker cards, it's getting worse and worse and worse. Same thing with the gut shot. When you add the gut shots, it's I mean, the gut shots have some pair potential as well. But I think we're catching him. He's going to be calling, and he does. So river comes out the ace. I'm not worried about it. Even if I had ace, even if I had pocket kings, I wouldn't be worried about it. Yes, we're gonna lose some time to the ace-6 and ace-4, and maybe even the ace-2 that catches it. Less likely ace-2, but like the ace-6, ace-4, we're gonna lose to that. But we should be pretty confident that our hands gonna hold up, even with an ace-queen. Or if we like 3-bet with king-queen, went for a squeeze and that didn't quite work out as well. I wouldn't be worried about this ace as much because you've had 2 big bets, and he called both. I don't think players are usually calling with the ace-x hands on the turn. So he does show jacks, which is in that range, in his range. We had that was part of the notes, so we can add a few more notes. So cold called, 10 big blind, 3-bet. So cold called. Okay. Oh man, we're all off. So he's in the big blind, or on the button. So let's go ahead and we're gonna have to update some of the hands. I don't think it's gonna change much. So he's in position. He called about a third, 33%. We'll say 33%, and then called. It's about 60, 2/3. We'll say 60%. All in on a queen of diamonds, 6 of clubs, 4 of spades, 2 of spades, ace of diamonds. All right, let's go back. All right, so we're on the flop. Yeah, we'll still leave this 50% chance that he would have just raised here for the sets. Doesn't change 2-pair, overpair, top pair. I think he's calling with all of them. So there's no chance that he's going to lead these cards. Again, 100% top pair. I think we're going to keep everything else. And you can see it doesn't really change hands. It just adds a few more combos to his calling range. 2 of spades comes out. Yeah, still, I mean, kind of worse overall because he now has like the queens, queen jack, queen 10, or queen 10, queen 9, more of like jacks and 10s, compared to our bet. So our top pair is going to kind of beat all of those hands. Still don't think it really changes anything. I think once we get called the first time, I think it's looking good that we're going to we're gonna be able to double our stack. So overall, I like how I play it. We're not going to run GTO because we were multi-way, and because we're also short stack. And I think GTO is going to probably recommend just shoving on the flop. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it does go for a little bit smaller, like we did. But I think there's reasons for both. I mean, if we shove over the top on the flop, let's go back to the flop. You know, if we go 40 big blinds, that's an overbet. You're gonna probably get more folds, and doing that with ace king makes sense. You want more folds when you have ace king, so we could easily do that. So hopefully you enjoy this hand. Planning to do up another hand tomorrow. So if you like it, look again tomorrow for another hand review.